Howdy, let's take off on Word Chapter 2, which is all about document presentation formatting. And the first thing that I want to show you is this little backward P up here. You turn it on and it shows paragraph marks. These are non-printing characters, but it shows more than paragraph marks. It shows this little mark for spaces. And then we're going to see some other marks that are going to help you a lot as you work with documents. So I really like to work in this mode so that I can see everything. The next thing I want to talk to you about is cursor placement. So when I click on a word, that places my cursor. 1 click places it. 2 clicks selects a word. And 3 clicks selects a paragraph. This is really handy when you want to apply formatting to a word or a paragraph. I don't have to do this. There we go. Did you like those sound effects? I can just double click and it's really much faster. So now that we've done this, let's have a look at our font options group. And in that group, when you hover over something, it's going to give you a tooltip right there. It tells me that this is where I change font color. Here, I can change case. I can make a font smaller or larger. I really do not use this at all because I like the precision of choosing exactly what size font I want, which I get there. I can do superscript, I can do subscript, I can do strike through, and bold, italic, and underline. Bold, italic, and underline. You can also do Control B. So I have that selected, Control I for italic and Control U for underline. And look at that. We don't really want it bolded, italic, and underlined, so I can go up here to clear all formatting. And there we go. It goes right back to where it was. The other thing that you need to know about is, as I said in the last video, you've got this little box in the lower right-hand corner, and when you pull it out, it gives you a lot of other options. Now, one of the things I want to point out is that in change case, you can go to all uppercase, you can go to title case. But if you want all caps or small caps, you have to go here, or even hidden text, and that could be really cool. You could write a letter to your friend and you could make some hidden text, and then you could tell them that only they could see that if they go in and select view hidden text. So we also have the Advanced tab here, which you probably aren't going to use at all, but it is there. And we can set a certain font as default for everything, and then we also have text effects, text fill, and outline. So I'm going to close this. So actually I have seriously selected, and it shows me that. I'm going to move this out of the way, and you can see that it's still selected. So whatever I did here, let's make it small caps, and okay. So there I have small caps. Now if I put my cursor here and I go up here to italics, it actually only italicized, it did italicize the whole word. So that is generally a word. But if I wanted the whole paragraph done, I would have needed to selected the whole paragraph. Or if I wanted it applied to the whole document, select all. And there's a very easy way to select all, and it is Control A. And I really like the control commands because they're so fast that you don't have to take your mouse up here, or you don't have to highlight the whole thing. And as you go through Word, you're going to find this Control A to be really handy because you're going to need to select all the text. A couple of other commands are, so Control Home, the Control key here, and then click the Home key is going to take you to the very top of the document. Control plus End takes you to the end of the document. You're going to find several places in your instruction where it's going to tell you to go to the beginning of the document or the end of the document. And that's how you do so efficiently. Now let's look at paragraph alignment, spacing, and indent. And we have a lot of information here. So if I click in here and I hit on center, it goes ahead and centers the whole thing because these commands apply to the entire paragraph. So it's going to, and I can write a line and then I can justify. Now justified means that you have a straight margin on the right and the left. And generally speaking, for reading, we don't want to do that because it turns out that what's called the rag right margin actually helps you when you're reading documents. So there might be a time when you really want that, but don't think about using that on a regular basis for a document that's supposed to be read. So I'm going to go back to my left here. Now, again, we have this entire pop-out box that gives us so many options. You're going to need to know about space before and after a paragraph. You're going to need to know about line spacing, and the alignment here is left. The outline level is body text, and it can be level 1, level 2, level, you can change it there. Generally, we don't do that. And then you have this one for line and page breaks, and it says widow and orphan control. So that means one word that finishes off a sentence, it'll try to keep it with the sentence. So keep with next, keep lines together, page break before, and that's talking about breaking across of 2 pages. It doesn't want to leave that hanging off all by itself. And I'm going to hit OK. Well, no, I'm not actually. Let's look at some indent choices. So the hanging first line indent is what you see. We'll look at that. So first line indent is like your standard indentation on paragraphs used to be. It's not so much standard anymore. Now let's go back over here and let's change it to hanging indent. OK, and the hanging indent means that the remainder of the paragraph hangs indented, and we see this in bibliographies. And now I'm just going to go back to none. There we go. I could also set the left at a specific and say I wanted a 2-inch left indent. Okay, well there we go. It indented the whole thing 2 inches to the left. So that's where you're going to find. I'm going to do Control Z and Control Z and Control Z, and we're back to our normal. So Control Z is also your friend. That's undo. And I don't have to reach up here and use this on my quick access toolbar. Now we're going to talk about tabs and tab stops. And there's several ways, just like in everything in Word and in the Office suite, there are several ways to do everything. And there's the old ways and the new ways and whatever way. So the first thing that you have to do if you wanted to actually use the toolbar is that I have to click on that I want to see rulers. And now my rulers appear here on the left and the right. And at the intersection here, there's a little box where I can choose. So if I hover over it, it says it's a right tab, click. And that's going to be a dot leader tab, or decimal tab, bar tab, first line indent. It's being very slow. Hanging indent, left tab. Still waiting for the tooltip. And a center tab. Now that I have those, I can go ahead and click here on center and place that tab. But nothing changed on my document. And why is that? My cursor's blinking right there. Well, I haven't used tab. So there we go. I can do it. Now when I click down here, notice that my little center tab is gone. It only applied to the selected paragraph, which is rather, you just have to know what it is that you're applying the tabs to. And if you wanted them to apply to your entire document, you would do Control A. And then I could click and I could place a center tab there, and that's just not working. So where you click on the bar is important. Here's my little center tab, and I've got the entire document, and if I click up here, nothing happens, but if I click down toward the bottom of the bar, it inserts that tab mark. Now, I really don't like doing it this way. It's kind of precise and not really precise. So I can go back to the Home tab, back to the paragraph box, and I can go to tabs here. And it actually shows me which ones I've already set. So I can click on this one and then I can change it. And let's say that I actually wanted it to have a dot leader. This is where you would find that. And if you hover over that, it's going to give you a tooltip. should give you a tooltip that tells you what it is. So I can also clear all tabs. I can just click on it and I can hit the delete button and delete. Tab stops to be cleared. So clear or clear all. So that cleared because I had Control A, but if I didn't and I only applied it to one paragraph, it would only clear all of them for that one paragraph. Generally speaking, if you're using tabs, you're creating somewhat of a table, which really people do not use this very much at all anymore, because using the table feature and then turning off your borders is a better way to create a table than using tab stops. So I'm going to hit OK, and all of my tab stops are gone. Next, we're going to create a bulleted or a numbered list. Now, if I wanted to do that to this list here, I would highlight it first, and then I can click on bullets or numbers. And the thing about bullets and numbers is that if it is really an ordinal list, that the numbers mean something, use numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. If it was steps in a recipe, you would use 1, 2, 3, 4. If it's not, then use just plain bullets. Now, you can also change to different bulleted styles. I can choose those. And if I wanted them to be red, I would have to go down here, which is really counterintuitive, to define new bullet. And here's where I can click on font, and then I can choose a different color, like a bright blue or whatever. But do remember that if you want your document to be professional and it's going out in the professional world, you don't really want to use too many weird colors. You would be better off choosing a theme and sticking with that. And we're going to look at that in just a moment. But that is where you get, we can do a different numbered format, we can choose font and style. So if I wanted all A's, B's, and C's, there we go. It kept my blue color. That's where we'd get it. And this is creating an outline list where you have multiple levels. You actually have multi-levels available in the one we just created, and you'll notice that if I hit tab here, it gives a second level to the list. So this is more for your standard outline 1A, little one, and this is just list. Now let's talk about a document theme, and that is going to apply to an entire document. You're going to find those on the Design tab, and I have a drop down here for themes. So these again apply an entire set of formats, and the formats include the selection of font, the selection of font color, the selection of backgrounds, and they all work together so that if you put elements in there, it's going to be color coordinated, and it's going to give you a much nicer. So now when I go here, and if I said that this was, so we're going to be looking at styles, and at this point I'm going to show you that I'm going to just create my own little paragraph style. So I do not have to select this whole thing to apply a paragraph style to it, because a paragraph is defined by ending in this little paragraph mark, and because I'm going to apply a paragraph format, it will apply it to the entire paragraph. Any paragraph formats are the same way. So I don't want to use one of these. I want to create my own style, and it's going to be very important. And then I'm going to go in and modify the style, because all I've done is given it a name. So I'm going to go into modify. Now this is going to mess up my theme if I go in and choose my own color, because if I choose automatic, it'll do it for me. But since it's very important, I'm going to make it red. So there we go. I've got red text on my very important, and then I'm going to choose a size, and I can choose a different font. And the sample text down here is showing me what it's going to look like in comparison to the other, and that's a bigger font, and I'm going to hit OK. So there we go. There is mine that I made. Now I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to say that this is, I'm going to, intense quote. There we go. Is that set apart or what? And then here, this is going to be a heading 1 because this is a heading for a section, Understanding Key Issues. No, it's not. Time Management is going to be my heading 1. And I'm going to go here and choose heading 1. And heading 1. And heading 1. And we're going to call that heading 2. Then when we go into View Outline, you'll see what this does for you is that on the outline, and this is also something that you want to do for documents for accessibility, because if this is going to be published and there's a screen reader, it looks at those things and it makes a distinction and tells people, if it's reading to people who have a visual impairment, it's going to say main heading, time management, or second level heading, and that is required in order for something to. All right, next we're going to look at different ways to divide a document. And let's say that in this one, I really wanted this particular section to be in 2 columns. So I can highlight that. Then I'm going to go to the Layout tab, and I'm going to choose Columns, and I want it in 2 columns. Now, the important thing to notice here is that there is a section break here before the columns, and there is another section break right here after the columns, and that's how you apply different formatting to different sections of a document, is you have to put that section break, which is continuous. So you can do a continuous or a new page, and we'll look at that. Right here are your choices of breaks. And it tells you next, insert a section break and start the next section on the new page, or continuous, it puts it in the middle of your document. So you have several options. And if you are then later formatting this document and you accidentally delete that, that means that you actually have a section break before it, but you deleted the one after it, and so it did nothing. So we're going to do Control-Z and put that back. And this is going to be important in editing your documents that you're going to create, because you're going to want to work with seeing the paragraph marks to make sure that you do not inadvertently delete one of your section breaks and break the formatting that you have applied to your documents. Now, styles, like other elements, can be modified by you. So you can save a new style set, and we can give it a name. This is going to be standard, and I could then see that style set and apply it to a different document if I was just really happy with the way that all worked out. So custom right here, standard, that's the one that I just created. There are times when you will want to insert a text box, and you can use it for a variety of things. We saw it on the template for the flyer, and it was boxes that just drew attention to certain elements of it. So I can go here to the Insert menu, Text Box, and I can choose a variety. Look, a banded sidebar. Sweet. It already comes in there, and then I start typing, and it replaces the text in it. And that came with a set of formatting, and it's actually in the theme of the colors that we chose for the document. And we can put our text in it now. This actually turns out to be 3 text boxes that are together. So when I select the text box once again, it shows me a format tab that is all about graphics. So let's look at shape fill on here, and the shape fill on this one is white. As I hover over them, it gives me a preview of what it will look like if I change that shape fill. So we also have shape outline, and this has no outline. Well, let's just say that I kind of wanted that same, so the standard colors are part of the theme that we chose. So if you choose something from the standard colors, you know that it's actually going to coordinate with the colors that are in the theme that you have. And I could put a heavy one. I can go to more lines and go to solid line, gradient line, fill, and get many other options. Let's go with solid line, and let's go with a compound type, and I'm gonna go with 6 point. That's gonna be a big one. Nice big border. That actually is kind of interesting, isn't it? So there we go. We've got our little border. And I'm going to zoom. Let's talk a little bit about zoom. You can look down here and you can see that I am at 190%. So I have it zoomed in pretty far to help you to be able to see what's happening. Now I can hold down the control button and roll my mouse button, and I can change the zoom very quickly, and I find that quite handy because I'm very much of a mouse command. I also have a plus sign down here and the minus sign so that I can change the zoom there. And then I have tabs down here for different layouts that I can change without going to view. So I can go to view and I can see read mode, web, outline, and draft, or print layout. And you have those also down here on the taskbar. So when I highlight that little section right there, I want you to notice down here in the lower left corner, 23 of 717 words. Now, isn't that interesting that you could look at, okay, I really had to have 17 words. What can I take out of here? Well, you know, you can highlight, there's 14 words if I took out that much of that sentence. Now let's look at moving and resizing a text box. So I've got here, if I right click and go to format the object, then I get all of these over here. It used to pop up in a box and now it pops up in the sidebar. So I have layout, text box, vertical direction, vertical alignment, and vertical again is up and down. And here I have shadows, reflections, glows. I've got line here. Now, alt text is another important thing for images because this is text that will read by a screen reader to describe a graphic that you had. So you can put the information about that in there and it's going to describe it for you. All right. Let's look at more layout options. And on more layout options, I have alignment right relative to the margin. Alignment top relative. This is vertical, this is horizontal. Those are important things to pay attention to when following instructions. So if I have vertical alignment at the top relative to the margin, now this is a full page graphic, so it's not going to make much difference unless I change it. But my alignment is on the right relative. What if I put centered and hit OK? There you go. It centers it. And we're going to look at that again. And we can tell it an absolute position of 0.2 from the margin. Okay, there we go. The next thing we're going to look at is word art. And if we go to the Insert tab, over here on the right, you're going to see word art. So if I go down here and I choose one, and again, these are theme colors, which is really nice. It's going to offer it to you in word. It shows that text there. And I'm going to do ASDF, and it moved it over there. So there we go. But if I actually really wanted this to be converted to word art, if I select it before I go to word art and tell it that, it uses that text. So it should always work that way, that if you've already selected it, it's going to choose the text. And there's a variety of things that you can do. Once I put word art in, then I get a whole format tab that has actually more options in it. And text effects here, rotation. Let's look at rotation. There you go. You can see all of those different options, and it's going to be nice for you to know that those options exist and where to find them, and you just have to go ahead and actually, read what it is. We've got text fill and outline. So my outline can be a different color. I can choose, let me choose the little orange for the outline because that's one of the standard colors of my theme. And then I can change the text fill to a different color, and I'll choose another one of the standard colors from my theme. And then just for grins, let's just turn off the paragraph marks because those look a little bit weird in word art. And this concludes our overview of design features. One of the things I want to tell you is that I have just created a document that does not look very professional. Now, what looks professional for a kindergartner and what looks professional for a hospital are two different things. So if you were creating an invitation to a kindergartner's birthday party, you might have a color scheme that was really bright and bold. But if you're creating an invitation for a hospital event to raise funds for some dreaded disease, you're going to want to create a pretty dignified document. So remember that adding visual elements should always point to the purpose of the document and draw attention to it, and it shouldn't draw attention to the element that you just added. So you want to be restrained when you are creating professional documents so that it actually gives the impression of the organization that you're representing. And you can think about those kind of things when you're creating a resume for yourself, that resume is a representation of who you are and your level of professionalism, and it's a very important document to be restrained on unless you're going for a very creative job like in graphics, and you might want to actually apply some avant-garde graphic elements in order to demonstrate, but then consider also that they look professional and they point to what it is you're trying to emphasize in your document. So I hope you enjoy and you learn a lot from this unit, and that you use restraint when you're using all these new tools that you've learned about.